Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. All right, we the sons done the Israelites is our heart's prayer and desire that all Israel be saved.
Shalom,
That's on me. On your brother Judah, you're on mute, King.
Brother Jonathan, shalom, shalom.
Come. Once again, we the sons done the Israelites is our heart's prayer and desire that all Israel be saved. All right, we're coming back at you with another rendition or class of the Chop Shop, man. All right, well, we chop up these false doctrines, give you breakdowns and understanding. All right, and we do it quickly. All right, we're not gonna hold y'all long. All right, brother Jonathan got an excellent class for you, interesting topic. So first things first, hey man, like the video when you come into the building. All right, so we can get this algorithm straight. All right, so this truth can be sent to other people. All right. Also, you already know we got our classes Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. Via the main page, Sons of Thunder Israelites. All right. So if you're not on that page, which you should be if you're here with us, if you're not on that page, you got to go ahead and subscribe. All right. Call into our Friday night call. All right. Every Friday at 8:30. Follow us on all our social media platforms. And if you would like to RSVP for the new moons, send an email to Sons of Thunder Israelites at gmail.com or Sons of Thunder Israelites NC at gmail.com if you're in North Carolina. All right. And if you want to do the work, man, send us an email. You already know how we do it. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and yield to the brother Jonathan for this class.
All right, Khan. All praises to the Most High, man. Hey, y'all know what to do. Go ahead and get your pen and pad ready. So what we're gonna deal with this morning, and like the brother said, we're not gonna hold you too long. We just want to get maximum edification in, right? So the first topic we're gonna talk about is mountains and hills. All right. So the idea of a mountain in the scriptures is twofold. We're gonna see that there were physical mountains that people were worshiping on, right? So people might go up to, Mount Moriah or uh, Mount Nebo or Mount, you know what I'm saying? All these different mounts that people would worship their gods on. So symbolically, going up to that mountain would represent going to a high place or going to a place where you're going to perform some type of sacrifice. That's the first application of mountains. But the second application is governments. All right. So we're going to get that precept right now. Let's go ahead and look at it. So this is going to be Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2. That's the first one we're going to look at.
Give me 1 second.
You good?
My Bible's in my suitcase in the car because we're going to Passover.
That's right.
All right. That's right. All right. Isaiah 2 and 2.
All
right. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and he shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it.
Okay, so that don't mean that the Lord's mountain is going to elevate itself above damn Mount Everest, right? And Rocky Mount down in Georgia. It don't mean that the Lord's house is going to elevate higher off the ground than the other mountains, right? It means that the government of the Lord's nation will be established in the top of the government. That's what it means when it says, "In the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountain." And we're gonna clarify that, and we're gonna qualify that with some precepts. All right. Now we can jump over to Zechariah 4 and 7.
Okay.
And the whole book of Isaiah, yeah, you good. The whole book of Isaiah talks about mountains in the same way. So we're gonna explore some of that. But go ahead.
Okay. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 4 and verse 7. Who art thou, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel thou shalt become a plain, and he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, cryings, grace unto it.
You see that? So, nah, that's good right there for right now. So once again, this is a prophecy to a mountain, a prophecy to a nation or a government, telling them that before Zerubbabel, they're going to be made plain. Does that mean that the Lord is going to make this mountain flat? No. Why would he waste time giving that prophecy? Right? That's speaking to the government of this nation. All right, let's get one more example of the same thing, which is going to be Isaiah 40:4.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 4. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain.
You see that? Same prophecy. So every valley and hill should be, every hill, Salaki, read that one more time. I don't want to butcher it.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 4. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low.
There we go. That's right. Every mountain and hill should be made low. So what did Christ say that parallels that? Christ said that if you humble yourself, you shall be exalted. And if you exalt yourself, you should be humble, because a mountain or a hill represents an exalted place, right? A high place. So if you putting yourself in this high place as if you're a mountain or a hill, the Lord is going to make you low, man. All right? And that goes for the other nations of the earth who are currently the mountains and hills in our situation right now. And we the valley, because we at the bottom. All right? So that's the understanding of mountains and hills. Now, let's take a look at Jeremiah 3:6, right? It's going to take a little bit to look at this one, because Jeremiah 3:6 uses it in a dual way. It uses this one example in two ways at the same time.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3 and verse 6. The Most High said also unto me in the day of Josiah the king, hast thou seen that which backslide of Israel? Salaki. Hast thou seen which backsliding Israel has done? She is gone up upon every high mountain and under every green tree, and there hath played the harlot.
Hey, so look at this. Now we're going to get into the trees a little bit later, right? But right here it says that Israel has gone into every high mountain and played the harlot. So once again, this could be a physical representation of a mountain, right? Because we know that Mount Seir was close by the northern kingdom or the southern kingdom. We know that, you know what I'm saying, the Samaritans had a mountain that they used to try to worship on. And then Christ was like, do you hear that background noise?
Lie.
Okay, come. And then Christ was like, yo, y'all don't know what y'all worship. What y'all talking about? This ain't the mountain you're supposed to worship in. So they had a mountain they was worshiping in too, right? But right here it tells us that all the people, they would go up and worship on every high mountain and under every green tree. All right? So this lets us know that some people may have physically been worshiping on a mountain. But the reason I say this is a dual fulfillment is because, hey, what nation do we not follow today as far as trying to follow their gods, man? Don't we got Eve damn bending over backwards trying to do some damn yoga in the front yard, in her living room and stuff like that, right? Throwing some lucky day and start doing damn yoga. You see what I'm saying? So our people will follow any nation or any government today to follow their gods, and that's the same thing as going up on every high mountain and under every green tree.
That's right.
All right. Hey, shalom to everybody who coming in. Shalom to everybody who coming in. Just do us a favor, hit that like button. All right. So we dealing with maximum edification. We running through these precepts. We might have to go back and get them, but it's all good. All right. All praises to the Most High. Let's get Jeremiah 31:23.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31.
Hey, Salakia, hold on real quick. Somebody at my front door. Hold on.
Okay, it's all good. And I'm not going to ruin the lesson, right? Because there's some cold precepts throughout this Bible about the mountains, the hills, and the trees. All right? So if you're watching this this lesson, this is one of the this is just an interesting breakdown. Is this a salvation topic? Right? Now, when you think about it, it could get there if you get deep into it. All right? But on the average scale of things, it's a salvation issue. You know, knowing the breakdown of the trees and the hills, no, but it's good to know. And like I said, I'm not gonna ruin it because of what some of these things mean right? It can definitely open your eyes to some deeper understandings of these scriptures, man. All right. So while the brother is gone, all right, to the people who's watching after the live is over, man, make sure you like the video about Cashapp and share the lesson. All right, we try to do these every week to edify the people each Tuesday morning, just getting your day started. So definitely support us by liking the video.
Khan, all praises. Salakia for that.
You good,
All right.
King.
So, Jeremiah 31 and 23.
Khan, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 23. Thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, as yet they shall use this speech in the land of Judah and in the cities thereof, when I shall bring again their captivity, the Lord bless thee, O habitation of justice and mountain of holiness.
You see that? Oh, mountain of holiness. So that don't mean that it's just one mountain that the Lord dealing with in the land of Israel. Because we know the land of Israel got a bunch of mountains and it's surrounded by mountains and all this type of stuff. So that's just saying, oh nation that he desires. You understand? All right. If you have ears to hear, then you understand that. All right, now let's jump down to Daniel 2 and 35. This is the best one. For me, this is my go-to.
Okay.
If I needed a perfect precept to explain mountains, I would go right here every time.
You said Daniel 3 and 25?
Daniel 2 and 35.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 2, and verse 35. Here we go. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken into pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth.
Hey, you see that? So this is the parable or the vision. That's the word I'm looking for. This is the vision that Daniel saw concerning the great statue, right? That represent all the kingdoms of the earth, right? Babylon being the head of gold, and then the chest of silver and so forth and so on, right? But there was a stone that was not cut out with hands that came and destroyed the statue, and that stone became a great mountain. What does all this mean? All right, let's jump down to verse 40. No, Salaki, let's jump down to verse 44.
Verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Hey, that right there tells you without a shadow of a doubt that that mountain is a kingdom, right? So that lets us know, that whole parable lets us know that mountains are spoken of as kingdoms in the scriptures, all right? And we know that the kingdom of the Lord is going to overcome the kingdoms of the heathen, right? That's what we look forward to. That's the faith and the patience of the saints, man.
That's right.
All right, Con. So I think we hit that one hard enough. Let's get Matthew 4 and 8. We'll get two more on the mountains, and then we'll drive that home, and then we'll jump over to the trees.
The book of Matthew, chapter 4, and verse 8. Salakia. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me.
Now, I want to ask you a question. Did the devil take him up? Did the devil take him up to the highest mountain on earth, and he's at a point now where he can just look and see all the kingdoms? That's not really what it's saying, right? It took him, it spiritually is showing him all the kingdoms of the earth, and it's saying that he took him to a high mountain, because this high mountain would represent that top level of rulership in the earth. And that's what Satan was trying to offer him, but Christ already got that. You see what I'm saying? Christ already got that, and he already understands that. So he's not going to fall for that. But that's basically what that scripture is talking about, right? He didn't go up to the top of Mount Everest like they would show you in the damn Bible movie on Netflix. He didn't go up to the top of Mount Everest and just look and see. You can't even see all the kingdoms of the earth from that angle. Right? So we got to use a little bit of wisdom and knowledge and understanding to break this down. All right, let's jump over to Revelation 6 and 14.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6 and verse 14. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of her places.
You see that? Does that mean the Lord's going to gather up all the mountains and all the islands and put them in one place? No. Once again, we've already established that these are kingdoms and dominions, right? So an island will be, somewhat of a kingdom or a dominion, and then a mountain will be a kingdom or a dominion, all right? And all these things are going to be removed, as we just read in the book of Daniel. They're going to be removed, and the Lord's kingdom is going to be set up, all right? And the 144 is going to be in rulership. So every parable that you read is telling you the same thing 5 different ways, right? That's what we saw last week when we was dealing with the word, and that's the exact same thing here when we're dealing with these mountains, all right? So y'all don't get too bogged down on the idea of mountains in the scriptures. Now, like I said, sometimes it is a physical mountain. Sometimes people are stepping onto a mountain, as we saw Elijah do. Sometimes people are stepping on a mountain and the other nations are worshiping their gods, right? And then Elijah called down fire from heaven and made them look stupid. So sometimes they physically on a mountain, but sometimes it's a spiritual thing. We got to use context and we got to use discernment to break it down, all right? Now, we're going to go into the second part of this. This is the trees and the plants, all right? The trees and the plants, maximum edification. All right, let's get Psalms 1 and 1.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 1 and verse 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful.
All right, come on.
But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bring forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
Hey, that's right. Because guess what? You're a tree planted by the rivers of living water, and you're gonna we're gonna have a video come out soon about the living water, right? Tune in to that. Adawan Yakum Yah is gonna break down the living water on the North Carolina channel. That's but right. Until that time, just know that if you're gonna be a healthy tree, you got to be close to the water, man.
That's right.
Right? And being a tree represents your spiritual health. Now, in some instances, it represents your spiritual health. In some instances, it represents your stature on the earth. And we're going to go into both of those. So trees represent spiritual health, your stature on the earth, and sometimes it represents what you can bring forth, right? As far as fruit, or if you bringing forth rottenness, things like that, wicked fruit, things like that, all right? So right here is our spiritual health. Let's get Psalms 37 and 35. Because this one goes into the wicked side of it, all right?
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 37 and verse 35. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree.
Khan, you see that? So in great power, he spread himself like a green bay tree. Now, why is that? Because the influence and the reach of the wicked has far-reaching effects, right? That's why when we read the book of Maccabees, it said that when the so-called white man started taking over the earth after Alexander the Great, it said evils were multiplied in the earth because his influence was far and wide, and he was like a green bay tree. All right. And we're gonna see that in Daniel as well. All right, but we're gonna work our way down to that. Let's jump backwards to Psalms 11 and 30.
The book of Psalms, chapter 11 and verse 30. You said 11 and 30?
Yep.
Psalms 11?
Yeah, hold on. I might be reading that wrong. Let me make sure it's not Proverbs.
I think it's Proverbs.
Yeah, it got to be Proverbs.
It is. Con.
Con.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 11 and verse 30. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he that winneth souls is wise.
Hey, yo, that's how we produce our fruit for the kingdom, man. We produce our fruit and we show our spiritual health by bringing people into this thing. That's why we always doing this work, man. We trying to find creative ways to do this work because Most High willing, he pleased with the fruit that we bring to the table. Everything could be looked at as if it's a harvest festival. You trying to bring your best fruit forward, and you can't bring forth fruit unless you're a healthy tree. So all of these things go together, okay? All right. Let's move forward. Let's get Isaiah 57 and 5. Now, this is another one that has dual meaning. It has dual understanding.
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 57 and verse 5. Inflaming yourselves with idols under every green tree, slaying the children in the valleys under the clefts of the rocks.
Hey, you see that? So when it says inflaming yourself with the idols under every green tree, they might have actually been under a physical tree. Because we know that Jeremiah 10 says that they a workman with the workmanship of an axe, he cut up a tree out the forest and brings it into his house and sets it up. So you might physically be under a tree, right? But that doesn't negate the fact that that green tree also represents the wicked in his influence and in his way of influencing you to do things.
Salakia.
Go ahead.
So does that mean would that go with this verse right here, Isaiah 66 and 17?
That's it.
They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and abomination in the mouth, shall be consumed together, saith the Lord.
That's right. That's right. So y'all can't get away by saying, I'm not behind a tree. No, you are behind a tree because you're following the influence of these other nations. That's right. And that's exactly where I was going. So that's beautiful. Right? And so following the wicked in their influence represents eating their fruit, right? Which is what we read in the very first parable of the Bible in Genesis chapter 1, when they ate the fruit. Right? They following the influence of the other nations. All right. Khan, you good. All right. The next one I'm going to get is Jeremiah 8 and 12.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 8 and verse 12. Were they ashamed when they had committed abomination? Nay, they were not at all ashamed, neither could they blush. Therefore they fall among them that fall. In the time of their visitation, they shall be cast down, saith the Lord.
Okay. Now the reason I'm putting this one here is because 13 is going to be the point. But notice that it said they're gonna fall and they're gonna be cast down. Just keep that in the back of your mind. All right, go ahead.
13. I will surely consume them, saith the Lord. There shall be no grapes on the vine, nor figs on the fig tree, and the leaf shall fade, and the things I have given them shall pass away from them.
Why we immediately start going into grapes and figs? Because your spiritual health represents you being a tree. When the Lord passes that judgment on you, it ain't gonna be no fruit on the tree. Right? He's gonna take your fruit from you. And that's the worst thing that can happen because your whole purpose is to bring forth fruit.
That's right.
And then the scriptures tell us also, it says that there's one who is wise and teacheth many, but is unprofitable to himself. So also don't be the type of person that bring forth fruit. You bringing people into the truth, but you're not profitable unto yourself. Right? Because if that happens, then you still a dry tree. You just able to bring forth fruit. Sometimes you can have a diseased tree that bring forth fruit. Right? And you would still cut that tree down, but you would salvage all the fruit that you can. And that's a situation like that. All right. Now I'm gonna get the last three precepts, and we're gonna drive it home, right? Matthew 7:17. All right, because Christ already told us what was gonna happen to the trees that didn't bear the right fruit, man.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 7 and verse 17. Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them.
Hey, you see that? And remember, I told you when that last precept, I said, remember the part about being casted down, right? Because that's everything that the scripture is telling you. Yo, if the Most High come to you looking for his fruit, he's a good gardener, man. He's gonna throw the whole thing down if you're not producing the fruit that you're supposed to produce. That's why we be on brothers so hard about studying and going out and going to camp, because that's your fruit. It said, what was that song?
That was Matthew 7 and 17 through 20.
Yeah, but what was the one that said? I think it was Proverbs 11 and 30. Proverbs 11 and 30 says that if you bring somebody into this truth, then you bringing forth fruit, right? That's basically what it was saying. I'm paraphrasing that, right? So these are the things that we need to be focused on, man. We need to be focused on how can we produce more fruit for the kingdom, all right? Let's get Daniel 4 and 20. And once again, I'm flying through these, but y'all can always go back and get them. The point of this class is to move quick and hit them quick, all right?
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 4 and verse 20. The tree that thou sawest which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O king, thou art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown, and reaches unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth.
Hey, you see that? So his influence is far and wide. But this precept right here is coming from the story of Nebuchadnezzar yet again, who had a dream of a great tree. And the great tree was so big, all the birds of the air came and lodged in the branches. The creatures of the earth came and slept under the shadow thereof, and some other animals ate the fruit and ate the leaves. Right? This tree was a blessing to a lot of people, to a lot of creatures. And those creatures represent different types of people. But the problem was that there came a point in time when he became too haughty and too high-minded. And so the Lord had to bring him down. So he cut him down. And didn't we just read that in Matthew chapter 7? That if you a wicked tree, the Lord gonna cut you down. So it's a parallel there. Whether you wicked or whether you righteous, you have a responsibility to not get too hard, to not get too proud of yourself, because the Lord can always cut you down, man. As a tree. All right. So that's a perfect place to go to understand the tree. All right. Let's get Revelation 9 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then the very last precept is Isaiah 5.
I got one too. If you want to end on Isaiah, I'll get it before that.
Okay, come.
This is Revelation chapter 9 and verse 4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads.
Hey, this is going to take some discernment, right? But chapter 9 is dealing with the wrath of the Most High coming down onto the earth. Now, who's the only people that the angel can touch? Let's read it one more time. I want to see who's the only people that the angel can touch.
This is Revelation 9 and 4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads.
You see that? So right here, the green thing, the grass and the trees represent men. But the men who have not the seal of God are the ones who can be destroyed. Everybody else was described as a green tree or grass or some type of green thing. All right. So it's describing their spiritual health. Whether you in the early stages of your spiritual health and you just grass, or whether you further and advanced in your spiritual health and you are now a tree, a green tree, right? The angel was commanded not to touch you because you had the seal of God in your forehead, right? But if you don't have the seal of God, then you have no spiritual health. So therefore, that judgment right there is going to come down and burn you up. All right. All right, Con, go ahead and get your precept out.
Hey, I'm gonna read it. You can just explain it, but this is one that one of my last conversations with my grandfather, we was talking about how trees represented men in the Bible. He didn't believe me until I brought this precept out. So I'm gonna read it. This is Ezekiel 31. I'm gonna start from the top. I'm gonna read through verse 9.
Oh yeah, Con.
All right, Con. It says, and it came to pass that in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, in the 1st day of the month, that the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak unto Pharaoh the king of Egypt and to his multitude, whom art thou like in my greatness? Behold, the Assyrian was a cedar in Lebanon, with fair branches and with a shadowing shroud, and of an high stature, and his top was among the thick boughs. The waters made him great. The deep set him up on high rivers. Salakia. The deep set him up on high with her rivers running round about his plants, and sit out her little rivers unto all the trees of the field. Therefore his height was exalted above all the trees of the field, and his boughs were multiplied, and his branches became long because of the multitude of the waters when he was shot forth. And all the fowls of heaven made their nests in his boughs, and under his branches did all the beasts of the field bring forth their young, and under the shadow dwell all great nations.
That's right.
Thus said Slacky, thus was he fair in his greatness in the length of his branches, for his root was by great waters. The cedars in the garden of God could not hide him, nor the fir trees were not like his boughs, and the chestnut trees were not like his branches, nor any tree in the garden of God was like unto him in his beauty. Here's the point, right? Here's the kicker. I have made him fair by the multitude of his branches, so that all the trees of Eden that were in the garden of God envied him.
That's right.
How could this be explained of anything else but this talking about a man? Can a damn evergreen tree be jealous of a damn pecan tree? Because you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
This is talking about me.
Mm-hmm. And that's a heavy precept, because that precept right there is the key to Genesis. If you want to understand what Genesis is really talking about, you have to have that precept.
Gotta have it.
That's right. That's right. And look, no, you good. I was gonna pull a precept for verse 7, right?
Con.
Go ahead, read verse 7 one more time.
Oh, Salakia. All right, this is Ezekiel chapter 31 and verse 7. Con. Thus was he fair in his greatness, in the length of his branches, for his root was by great waters.
All right. So I'm gonna get 1 John 2 and 16, which I already have loaded. Right? And 1 John 2 and 16 says, For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away in the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. Salakia, that's not what I want, actually. I think I wrote that down wrong. Salakia. So basically, look at this. It says, Thus was he fair in his greatness, and in the length of his branches, for his root was by great waters, right? So he was fair in his greatness because he was pleasing to look unto, right? When people saw this tree, they was like, "Oh man, this is a great tree right here." You know, who can bring this tree down, right? Don't we read about that in the book of Revelation? And people marvel over how big that tree is and how long it's been there and how many branches it got and how many good things comes from that tree, right? All right, so let's get Genesis 3 and 6.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 3, Salaki, in verse 6. And it reads, and when he saw, Salaki, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat.
Hey, when the woman saw the tree, she saw that it was good for food, it was pleasant to the eyes, and it was desired to make one wise. Why? Because it was fair in greatness, as we just read.
That's right.
Right? It was fair in greatness. And as she looked at it, she said, man, you know what? I can get a lot from this tree. And that brings me back to 1 John 2 and 16, because the only thing that's in the world is the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. That was all of that in one package. That's what that tree, that tall tree, offers to you. The lust of the flesh, right? Because she wanna somehow gain something from it. The lust of the
Right.
eyes, because it was fair to look unto, and the pride of life, because it was such an exalted tree. And what did Satan offer to the woman? Right? What did the serpent offer to the woman? The serpent offered that she would be like
It'll
unto
be
God.
like God.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's the pride of life. Okay.
Uh,
God, all praises. Let's get that last one. And the last one gonna be Isaiah chapter 5, right? And I ain't even gonna read the whole thing, but Isaiah chapter 5 is a parable about how Israel is a beautiful vineyard unto the Lord. And a vineyard is filled with what? Trees and plants.
that's right. It's the
All
book of
right.
Isaiah, chapter 5 from the top. Now I will sing to my well beloved, a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well beloved had a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he
All right,
fenced
Salakia. That's parallel to Mark chapter 12, right? Because Mark chapter 12 tells a parable of the exact same thing. Come on.
and he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof, and he planted it with the choicest vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that Salakia, and he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes.
You see that? That's the fruit. That's the spiritual health. Come on.
And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard, which could have been done more. What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, it brought forth wild grapes.
Yo, that go into what Adonai was bringing out last night, right? Damn, Israel is so concerned with your doctrine that they don't even give a damn about being your brother no more, right? Oh, brother, you congregating on the new moon. You can't do that in captivity. And then now they a bug out and they don't love you no more, right? They were supposed to bring forth grapes, but they bringing forth wild grapes. All
Right.
right, and that's the reason the Lord broke our walls down and tore the heads down and allowed the devourers to come in. All right, and if you need to prove who the vineyard is, let's jump down to verse 7.
Verse 7. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. And he looked for judgment, but behold, oppression, for righteousness, but behold, a cry.
All right, so hey, he looked for Zedekiah, but he got Zaakah, right? And that's poetry in the scriptures. But he looked for righteousness, but behold, a cry, right? He didn't get that righteousness he was looking for because he was bringing forth wild grapes. All right. So, hey, this is the biblical understanding of trees and mountains in the scriptures. All right. You can always go back and get more. Uh, we're just laying the foundation for you, but that's absolutely right. The brother Israel said it right, man. The mighty brother Israel, Shalom, man. It said our people priorities are messed up, man, and so we got to get back to producing the fruit that the Lord is looking for so that he can elevate us and exalt us, as it says in the book of Micah chapter 4, in the book of Isaiah chapter 2, where it says that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be exalted above the other mountains. We're not going to get there if we're not bringing forth fruit, Israel. So we appreciate y'all for joining. All right. Until next time, Shalom.
Shalom.